Casa, a popular Bitcoin self-custody firm, is adding Ethereum support to its platform in what some may consider an unlikely move. Casa is saying an overhauled version of their app will launch in January. And joining us now to discuss is Casa CEO Nick Neuman and co-founder and CTO Jameson Lopp. Welcome, Nick and Jameson, to the show. So adding Ethereum support comes as a surprise. Good to see you. To some, especially as some people consider Casa a purely Bitcoin company. And Jameson, you are an outspoken cypherpunk and well-known Bitcoin advocate. So why are you opening up to Ethereum? You could start with Jameson.
Yeah, go ahead, Jameson.
So, this is a response to market demand. Obviously, we've been in operation since 2018. We have plenty of customers and prospective customers, and we're constantly listening to them and trying to understand their needs. And, our whole mantra from the beginning has been that we are in the business of helping people empower themselves, helping make self-sovereignty more attainable for the average person. Bitcoin, being the king of cryptocurrency, was the obvious first step there. There's a great amount of value. People have a lot to secure and a lot to potentially lose if they're not confident in their self-custody. So that was the first step. And we regularly are getting requests for help with other assets, other things. We're in the long-term business of helping people secure their private keys, and we believe that private keys are going to be used in a multitude of different ways over the long term. So we're not going to be limiting what people can do with them.
Mm-hmm. And Casa's original CEO and co-founder Jeremy Welch floated the idea of onboarding multiple cryptocurrencies. So Nick, are you considering other cryptocurrencies as well?
I mean, as of today, we're taking a big step with Ethereum, and I was part of we were all part of that original decision to focus on Bitcoin. And we made that decision as a company at the time, given the resources that we had, and given that we were a security company that really was trying to nail a very simple, secure experience with our product. And so as we think about what we're going to do going forward here, it really comes down to the customer demand, what we're hearing from our customers, and where the market opportunity is, and how that drives towards that ultimate vision, which Jameson touched on there, which is that private keys will secure everything important to us in our lives. And so that's something that we will evaluate as we go. But as of right now, we are really focused on building the best experience for the Bitcoin and Ethereum ecosystems.
Yeah. Custodying your own cryptocurrency has certainly been a hot topic these days, especially after the recent failure of FTX. And so I wonder how that has impacted Casa.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen significantly increased interest over the last month since FTX had their implosion, basically. It was a very clear, probably the most clear example we've had since Mt. Gox of the risks of keeping your Bitcoin or your crypto in general with a custodian. And so people are learning the hard lesson, unfortunately, that if you don't hold your own keys, they're not your coins. And so we really view this as part of our overall mission, I would say, which is to help people have control, true ownership over these assets that represent their savings and their investments.
Yeah, how could a Casa have prevented something like what people are finding now, which is that they're losing their life savings because they had it on FTX?
I mean, we saw it with our customers.
Simply,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jameson.
When you have the keys yourself, then those funds are not going to move without your consent. So what we're really talking about, usually when we talk about sovereignty, we're really talking about, can things happen to you without your consent? And this is why private key management and self-custody is a fundamental act that is important to the integrity of the entire ecosystem, because it is what gives people the power to decide whether or not something can happen to their assets at the moment. We believe that in the future, it's going to be about a lot more than just cryptocurrency, crypto assets, but rather many different aspects of your life that you will be empowered to decide and have consent over.
So I guess the problem that some people have with self-custodying is the amount of responsibility. And frankly, some people want to give that responsibility to a trusted intermediary. So does Casa do anything that simplifies self-custody in a way that people would be more comfortable with holding a bank in their pocket? Maybe Jameson, you can take a stab at that.
Yeah, so Casa has had several different aspects to it that I believe make it easier for people to get into self-custody. Now, there is, of course, the software aspect. We believe that providing a much simpler interface makes it easier for people to navigate some of these complexities. And actually having too many options results in foot guns and the ability for people to make more mistakes. But another aspect of this that you don't find as often in self-custody is having dedicated support, like someone you can actually get on the phone with to walk you through the different challenges, complexities, decisions, understanding the trade-offs of what you're doing so that you can be confident that you're making the right decisions.
You want to add to that, Nick?
Yeah, I think Jameson actually explained that quite well. The only thing that I would add is that the actual tech that we've built on protects against some of the mistakes that people are worried about when they're holding their own keys. So one of the biggest things that we hear around anxiety of holding your own keys is, what happens if I make a mistake and suddenly I've lost all my money? I would much rather give my keys to somebody else who I can trust has, more expertise in this than me. Unfortunately, we find out pretty frequently that that's not the case. They don't have necessarily more expertise than you, and they don't care as much about protecting your money as you do. But what we've built on is a technology called multi-sig. This allows you to use multiple keys to protect one pool of money. And so if you lose a key, you don't actually lose all your money. Suddenly you are allowed to be a human and still have real control over your funds. It adds resiliency, it adds security to a self-custody setup, and that gives people a lot of peace of mind.
And are you the one who is safeguarding your multi-sig, your private key, or is that somehow facilitated or made easier by Casa? Somewhat like how signing into email, where they ask you, hey, what's your phone number? We'll text you, or what's your birthday, or something like that.
Yeah, that's the software that we've built, makes it significantly easier to use multisig. You could use that technology through a different piece of software. It's been around since before Casa was around or was created. But the difference is that we've actually put a ton of work, like Jameson was saying earlier, into making the experience simple and approachable for people. And so suddenly this more resilient, more secure tech, which wasn't available to the mainstream population before, is now available because it's so much easier to use through our software.
And another aspect of this is actually that Casa is holding one of the keys in the multisig, and so that does not give us control over your funds. We can't prevent you from using your funds however you want, but we can help you in certain emergency situations. And this is another aspect of the resiliency and redundancy that's built into the system, is that you're not doing this alone. You have essentially an expert that is supporting you, but does not have the power to prevent you from using your money as you wish.
Just finally, before we wrap up, Sam Bankman-Fried gave an interview to the New York Times and their Deal Book Summit the other day. I wonder if you had a chance to listen to what he said and had any reaction to some of his comments.
I caught the tail end of it. We made our announcement around Ethereum support same day, so we were super busy. But Not a ton of reaction beyond what's already been said within the broader community. And I think the whole situation just generally highlights the importance of holding your own keys for people in our community. And I hope
Jameson,
that this is really a turning point.
I have no reason to believe anything that comes out of his mouth, so I'm not going to spend any of my time listening to him.